Hey kids, welcome back. It's day 2 of week 4. Guess what? You're a famous YouTuber, but Mr. Ermer's never heard of you. So tell him what he needs to know. What content do you make for your YouTube channel? How many subscribers do you have? How'd you get famous? Remember, be thoughtful. You might need to write more than 2 or 3 sentences this time. See you later. All right. Thank you, Rex. Great job. Really thoughtful questions. We'll hear, I know students are responding to your questions with some really fun and thoughtful content. So we'll get to that in a little bit. We've got 9 agenda items today. So it might be a little bit longer video. I just got done recording my 7th grade video, and I know that was, I think, about 30 minutes long, 31 minutes long. So depending on how long our chapter is here, we'll be about the same. Number 1. We need, I'm going to talk about our weekly plan link in every week's folder. I'll talk about that and how you need to use it. 2, watch the entire video. Mr. McDonald from the 7th grade, maybe you know him, Andrew. He was the one that highlighted for me that you're not watching the video. So make sure you're watching the entire video. It's 30 minutes. It is class time. I give you important information related to school. Sometimes it's lessons, tips for the day's lesson, and just important information, how to access information. So make sure you're watching the entire video. Talk a little bit more about that. Agenda item 3, keep active, stay healthy. I'll talk about that, give you my lesson, my health lesson. Agenda item 4, the mystery box. It went well. Day 1, I had several callers. I'll talk about that. Agenda item 5, favorite sayings. I went through your favorite sayings, and I'm going to share a couple of those with you. Probably a few more of them as we for my daily videos. I thought that was a really fun reflection question with a lot of wisdom. And so we'll share some of your wisdom. Agenda item 6, assignment due date markings. I had some suggestions from parents and students, so I have some updates about how I'm marking due dates. Agenda item 7 is a pancake story I have. I'll share with you. Agenda item 8, we have our show and tell. And then agenda item 9, I'm going to talk about today's lesson, context clues, what you're going to be working on in today's assignment. All right, that's it. A little heads up. It is about 65 degrees out. I'm filming this on Wednesday. Yesterday was my brother's 40th birthday. I'm going to go celebrate his birthday with him and Mercury and Amanda and my girlfriend Susanna with a barbecue today. So I'm going to go for a run after this. So that's why I'm wearing my running shorts. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'll give it a couple honks out there. Not sure what my neighbors feel, how they feel about that yet. No complaints. But it's beautiful out. So let's get to it. Agenda item 1, your weekly planner link. So every inside the distance learning folder, you'll see it's broken down by weeks. You probably figured that out. You're doing the assignment. So in each week's folder, right at the top, there's a link to the week's plan. Please open it up. Please read through the plan. It has instructions, and based on very few of you calling me, you didn't open that up and read the directions. So right in there, yes, day 1 was a work day. The video told you that. But in the actual weekly planner link, in that link, I gave you directions to call me with a number, and about maybe 10 of you did out of 150 students. So it's less than 10%. We need to do better. So make sure you are reading that. Agenda item 2, watch the entire video. I had several students say, hey, where's the Rex reflection question? And well, it was in there. It just wasn't in the beginning. I had Silas, great job. I thought it was a funny suggestion. Hey, why don't you put the reflection question at the end or in the middle so that we could see who is actually watching the video? And I got those questions. Hey, where's the question? How am I supposed to do this assignment with no question? Well, it was in there right in the middle. So I thought it was a little tricky, but it was funny. So make sure you are watching that whole video. I give you content. I give you agenda items that are important for how to access information. And I give you tips about lessons and what you need to know to do your assignments. Watch the entire video. All right. Agenda item 3, keep healthy, keep active. I go for runs, push-ups, sit-ups, work on my core. I get outside. I need to move my body around. I know I'm now 36 years old. I know from living a life, pretty healthy life, that activity and moving your body around not only helps your body feel good and kind of process everything it needs to process the way it needs to process it, but it also helps your brain function better. It's good for mental health as well as body health. So not only will it make your body actually physically better, you'll improve your mental health as well. So keep healthy, keep active while maintaining social distance. All right, agenda item number 4, the mystery box. Once you've called me after the day after the day one's activity is gone and we've moved on to day 2, you're no longer allowed to see what was previously in the mystery box. So for day 2, I've got a new item. Make sure you're calling me. Don't forget, with the mystery box, how to see what's in the mystery box, you need to send me an email, a Schoology message, or a phone call just saying, hey, I want to see what's in the box. I will send you a link to a Google Meets where you will see live video of me and I'll show you what's in there and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I had fun with the first one. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I've got a new item in the box for day 2. Really cool one, especially if you're into sports. Something that's pretty historically cool. Almost, it's 29 years old. It's super relevant to something that's hot on Netflix right now and on the headlines. Hint, hint, hint. You might even see it in this room, or not see it in this room, but a hint to what's in the box is currently visible on this video. Wonder what it could be. Super cool. So mystery box, shout out to Maddie F, Silas, Lexi, Cameron P, Lauren S, Noah B, Grace T, Elias, Tyler, and Ethan C for calling in to see what was in the mystery box. Thank you very much. Keep it up. I look forward to seeing you to see what's in day 2's box. Noah B for the 6th grade. It's his 12th birthday. Congratulations. Happy birthday. It was somebody else's 12th birthday too. I forgot. I wrote it down and I'm not shouting you out. So I think it was a girl. I spoke with you today. It's Wednesday. I'm sorry. I forgot who it was. Send me a message. Remind me whose birthday it was. I'll shout you out for next week. All right. Agenda item 5. Favorite sayings. Nick C. Good job, Nick C. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I like that a lot, Nick C. That's a full of wisdom. Good one. I like that a lot. It talks about opportunity. So yeah, sometimes you can use it as a metaphor about life. If you don't try and you don't get out there, how are you going to be successful? Same with hockey. So if you don't actually take a shot, it's not going to go in the net. So you got to get it on goal sometimes. And sometimes that's about life. You might not get the goal, but at least you're trying. And one of those times that you try, you're going to win. So get out there and do stuff is how I take that. All right. And then Lauren D, fake it till you make it. I love that. And as a teacher myself, holy cow. I was not always such a wonderful teacher as you see now. I sucked, actually. I was not a good teacher. It took me several years to become and I'm still learning. I'm not awesome. There's some things that I'm not very good at, but I think I'm starting to get a lot better now. And so, you know what? I faked it until I made it. I recognized I wasn't that great, but you know what? I kept a smile on my face. I showed up every day, and I figured it out. So fake it till you make it, everybody. I like that. Lauren D, thank you very much. Agenda item 6, assignment due date markings. I had a parent and a student say, hey, I'm a little confused about when these things are due. Well, that was good feedback. So I did, not only is the due date embedded within the assignments, also in the title of those assignments, I just mark when it's due. So hopefully that will more clarify some of those issues I was getting from parents and or families and students. All right, so number 7, my pancake story. All right. I'm not gluten-free, but I've gotten to acquire the taste for this particular brand, King Arthur Flour's gluten-free pancake mix. And I went to Target. I went to a Lund's down on Lake Street. I went to a Lund's down in Edina, and I couldn't find this darn pancake mix that I like so much. And I went for the third one. I was here in Minneapolis on Lake Street at the Lund's. right next to B'nai Makaska, and I was just looking and staring at this empty shelf space. You know, there's Aunt Jemima, there's this other gluten-free stuff that I didn't know about, there's this paleo-free stuff, there's an empty shelf space with where mine should be, and I was just staring at it, and I was probably looking a little helpless. And one of the workers, this man next to me, you know, like 10 feet away, could see it in my eyes probably because he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Uh, he could see I was probably staring. I was staring at it for a good, 10 seconds. I'm just like, "Come on!" I'm willing that pancake mix to just show up all of a sudden. And he's like, "Oh, didn't get your pancake mix isn't there?" He's like, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, that dang pancake mix isn't anywhere. I've been to 3 stores now." And and he starts sharing with me the story of his roommate, who's kind of been little down, little just kind of having a hard time with this isolation, and telling me, yeah, you know what, my roommate, he doesn't like to cook. He's just not really eating very healthy, and I just tell him, hey, just focus on one meal a week, and I'll make some meals for us, and but go get some food for like one meal a week, and like you'll that's what you'll do. And he's trying to encourage me not to be so glum about my pancakes. Like, just pick one of these other ones. This Aunt Jemima mix is good, and this other one's good. And actually, I actually did buy this other one from Lund's, and I've um, so. I took his advice, and I thought it was funny. Like, I wasn't actually that upset, but I was getting a little fixated on this pancake mix, and but then he started kind of inching closer, and he did this little like, and he touched my arm, and I was like, whoa, beep, yep, pandemic here, dude, and I just like backing away from him, and I thought it was funny. I went into my car later, and I put like I wiped down my arm with a disinfectant, but it was funny. We're all starving for that human connection, and I wasn't mad. I just kind of awkwardly started backing away from him. But he's sharing with me this intimate story about his lonely roommate who's really struggling. He wanted to reach out and have a little human connection. I know I miss shaking hands. I miss hugging my friends, and I miss a lot of people. So we're gonna get through it. But I thought that was still a funny story. Um, about the pancake mix, and I realize I'm rambling, and I have no idea if you're laughing or come on, Mr. Ermer, let's move on. All right, eat up your pancakes. Show and tell. That along with that connection, please continue doing the show and tell. I know we all miss each other. I'm hearing that from all of you. So as you go out and do your hikes, go out on adventures. I know, forget who it was. Somebody's going to visit her aunt's farm, so you can socially distance on that big farm and take pictures. Go take pictures of all that cool stuff you're doing. That's for later. All right. And we hit the jackpot today. This is Gabe. This is my mom's new dog named Buttons. Oh my gosh. Everyone's sharing cute animal pics today. We got Zach, cute puppies. Oh, look at the cute puppies. And yes, that's how I talk to all puppies. Kitty, kitty, kitty. I forget whose cat this was, but I'll shout out who shared the content here in a second. What a cute puppy. I think this is Audrey's dog. What a cute puppy. Lauren D. Lauren D is helping her mom remodel this space in their home, and I believe it's going to be her new bedroom. So that's pretty cool. They're excited to work on the home improvement project. Just doing my work. Maddox, getting to it. All right. Thank you for sharing those show and tell pictures. Keep sharing content. It's fun. It's one way to have that human connection that we are all starving for. I know I am myself. All right. Those are your show and tells. Keep it up. And then the last thing, today's activity, your lesson is called context clues, and specifically using context clues. So there's 2 videos to watch before you dive into answering the questions for today's assignment. The first one is linked as day 2 using context clues video. You'll see that in our folder. And then the second video is embedded within the assignment. So click on the assignment and you'll see another video you can watch. And those videos are meant to help you understand what are context clues. How do we use the words in a sentence and around unfamiliar words to help us guess and make predictions about those unfamiliar words. So using context clues, this activity is meant to help us identify words we don't know. We don't know what they mean. And then if we don't have access to a dictionary or a phone that we can look words up, how we can kind of guess what those words mean based on the other words around them or the context, that stuff around what's going on to help us figure them out. That's it. So get into it, watch those 2 videos, and then start using your context clues to figure out the answers. Today's assignment is a short response. You need to type the words. If you misspell them, that's fine. Don't worry about spelling. Just don't be terrible. Don't have atrocious spelling. All right, I'm going to finish up our read aloud, and then I'm going for a run. Bears of the Ice, The Quest of the Cubs by Catherine Lasky. Chapter 24. Let's see. It's kind of a medium-length chapter. Blown Away. We're getting towards the end of the book, and you can read and quiz for this. The Clarkin ice did not diminish, but went on and on. Yet there was still no trace of the great hunters. The ceiling was good. With the strong winds, the snow was often blown off the ice in great swaths, and the cubs could see the seal swimming beneath the Clarkin. But even full bellies couldn't mask the concern that they were drifting farther from their father. Stellan had begun to wonder why there were no roarings in this region. If this was a place where the hunters gather, why would they not celebrate with roarings? On this particular day, the skies had darkened. There was a shift in the wind that seemed to resonate with a shift Stellan was feeling in himself as he gazed down at the red band timepiece. Seems like your plan is working out well, isn't it, Jite? Wonder if that's a little sarcasm. Stellan asked with a slight sneer in his voice. Why say such a thing? It's only a question, Jite. He's just wondering, Third added. I was wondering too. I asked Stellan the same thing the other night. Wondering what? Jite snapped. And how dare you go behind my back, Stellan? You were sleeping. You want me to wake you up every time I speak to Third? I don't like it when bears speak behind my back. It wasn't behind your back. You were asleep. I wasn't asleep this morning when you said that we should head a bit more west, but that is not what Uluk said. We need to keep east of Never Moves. East! She raised her voice. Stellan felt anger swelling in him. West! He shouted back. Just try it. West! We're clearly not heading toward the hunting grounds. There's no sign of them. I'm not risking that. East! Third clapped his paws over his ears. He couldn't stand it. He'd never seen the cubs fight before. Their faces became twisted and ugly. Their shouts scalded the air. He might have been back in the den with Taka screaming at him. She often screamed at his brothers as well, even First, her favorite. She would slap them about, threatening to break their heads, tear out their claws. The horrible racket of that den, the sting of her swats all came back to him. Stop! Third cried out. It was the anguish of his cry that stopped them. They looked at the cub. His paws were clamped over his ears. His eyes pinched shut for a moment. Then he opened them slowly and looked from one cub to the other. We have to stick together. We are all each other has. But you know nothing, Third. I know ice. Jite's words were directed at Third, but she glared at her brother. She couldn't put up with this any longer. How dare they question her? How dare they try to keep her from finding her father? East! She shouted one more time, then bolted off, unable to stand it any longer. Jite! Jite! Stellan called after her. Suddenly, there was a deafening roar. The sky stirred with an odd color. Clouds streamed across the sky, and a wind crashed down upon them. The Blindspree! Stellan felt a thud against his chest. A blast of air had smacked Third against him. He clutched the little cub and opened his mouth to howl again for Jite, but the howl was stuffed down his throat by the gusting wind. He began coughing. He dared not open his eyes, for the air had turned prickly with grit. He was accustomed to blinding snowstorms, but this was different. Where was Jite? She was lighter than he was. Would she be blown to the Skringar, where she'd starve, scared and alone? He grasped Third harder, but his arms felt empty. After what felt like ages, the roar of the Blind's spree began to diminish until finally it was but a hoarse whisper, leaving the gritty gray residue it had brought from across the Skringar. But for Stellan, the world was hollow. He stood up, shouting, bellowing his sister's name. If only she had not stopped off at just that moment. And to make matters worse, he had been left with the red band timepiece. The world seemed directionless to Stellan. It was simply a void without his sister. Once they had called everything that was different Natmun. Well, this world was now not Jite. Not Jite. This was impossible. They had always been together, always. There was never a night they had spent apart. We must find her, Third said. The little cub was pulling at his own ears, his eyes sliding back with terror. I caused this. This is my fault, Third thought. But where? Where do we start? Stellan looked down at Third, whose white pelt was now dusty with the grit and dust. Third said nothing, but just began to walk. In a daze, Stellan followed the tiny cub. There was no hope of finding any tracks. The blind spree had erased every imprint and leveled any ice formations. Jite pulled herself out from beneath a low ice ledge where she'd eventually taken shelter once the wind grew too fierce. The snow was gritty under her paws. Her fur was gritty and had turned gray. Stellan! Stellan, where were you? Where are you? But there was nothing but a resounding emptiness, only the sound of her own voice smacking against the Clarkin ice. Fine, she thought. She'd be perfectly fine without her brother. How dare he doubt her? She would find her father on her own. He would recognize her instantly, of course. He would gather her into his arms. She would tell him about being an ice gazer. She might mention that Stellan was a riddler. She might. He'd ask where her brother and her mum were, and then because she was an ice gazer, she would lead him back to where Stellan and the Third were. She'd have to explain about Third, but she was sure her father would understand, and then all of them would go to find Mum. But now she was tired and her shoulder was hurting her terribly. She had to take a little rest. When she woke up hours later, a curious feeling came over her as she looked up at the sky. The stars were just where they should be. The spree, star pointing at never moves, and the twin stars skipping between them, almost side by side. But we're not side by side, she thought. The words were like a stab in her heart. She closed her eyes and tried not to cry. She regretted everything she had said to Stellan and Third. She hated herself, hated that she was so impulsive, hated the recklessness that had brought her to this desolate place in this unknown world. She even hated her stupid dream of meeting her father, meeting him alone without her brother. How could she have ever dared to think of such a thing? She reached for the red band timepiece. Crow splat, she muttered. Stellan had it. Stellan, she cried. She realized that the wind that had blown them apart had not been just any wind. It was the blind spree. She touched her head. There was a huge lump rising near her ear and something sticky. She lowered her paw and saw a streak of blood. I must have hit my head. She recalled Uluk's words about these freakish winds, the blind spree. You must grasp each other, clutch each other, for if you get separated, you might never find each other again. Oh no! Jite crumpled to the ground. She touched the lump on her head, then spied nearby a rock with a blood smear on it. Her blood. Wherever they had been before the blind spree, there hadn't been any rocks. She must be some distance away from Stellan and Third. She could see the tops of two mountains. But were they mountains? They had the most bizarre shapes. Cones? Yes, the tops were like cones, and smoke was rising from them. Her mom had told her about such mountains. They were called volcanoes. She pressed her paws to her eyes. How could this happening? How could this be happening? She had lost everything. Her brother, the red band timepiece, her wits. How would she ever find her way out of this place? Would it be possible to retrace her steps back to Stellan and Third? But there were no steps. The blind spree had erased every paw print. At least it hadn't erased the stars. The stars still hung in the night sky. She could still find Nevermoves with or without the red band timepiece. And Stellan would still head north. He might not trust Uluk Uluk, but he would know that his sister would be heading north. For that star was all that bound them together now. The wind began to blow a light, fresh breeze from a different direction. The red band in the sky became clearer. She could see a moon rising. She tried to picture the timepiece and where the hands had pointed the last time. If I can see through snowdrifts and understand how crystals interlock, I should also be able to remember the parts of that timepiece, the hands and their positions the last time I saw them. I should be able to. I do have a brain. Let's see if it still works. All right, that's the end of chapter 24. We're on page 179. We only have about 50 pages left. So I suspect we'll probably be finished in the next couple of weeks. Great job. Don't forget, check the weekly plan. Have that open. I could tell by there are directions this week for day one to call me. Yes, in the video I told you this was a work day, but as part of that, I asked you to call me. Only a few of you called me. So make sure you're checking that weekly plan. Those are your directions for the week. Follow them. Have it open. Watch the entire video. Don't just watch for X's reflection. I have important information to share. Stay healthy, stay active. Don't forget to contact me for the mystery box. And once it's passed, we're moving on. You can't see what was already in the past. Favorite sayings. I'll share more with you those for next week. Assignment, due date markings, pancakes, eat them up, show and tells. Send those pictures. Oh, here. Oh, someone just buzzed. Let me see. I might have a guest that can share some things. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, kids! Courage the Cougar here. Don't tell Mr. Ermer. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Must have been another ding-dong ditcher. Darn kids. All right, it's about 3:15. It's about 66. I bet it's getting warmer out. And what the heck? That's not good. I'll have to find that. All right, well, I'm going to get out there for a run, and I'll see you next week.